What's called Gadadhara for you, Krishna?
Sometimes in Indian culture, a person, they have arranged marriages, which is something interesting. But then they meet for the first time at the point of marriage. They look, wow, now we belong. And then suddenly, the girl suddenly has a new family. Very quick, oh, he's now my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and so now we belong together. So on a deeper level, the point which is marriage, on our deeper level, is called initiation. It's the point, and this is not a ritual, it's the point where a soul decides, my Lord, I want to surrender. I want to come towards you. And then mysteriously, Krishna says in Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajantam pratipurvakam tadahami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayantite. Mysteriously, at that moment of that readiness of the soul, Krishna makes more arrangements that the soul is really guided towards me. But then slowly, we feel, oh, we have a new family. Persons to whom we belong. And there are millions. These are all the inhabitants of the spiritual world. All the eternal associates. And for me, it's one of the greatest mystery is how Gaura-Gadadhara came in my life. But to enter in their moods, this is like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really Krishna himself on an adventure journey to know something, what is devotion to him and what is the joy of devotion. And that at that very moment, when Radha and Krishna have a desire, at any moment, Yoga Maya makes arrangements that this can come to happen. And when this desire appears in the heart of Krishna, Yoga Maya immediately makes a new eternal dham. This is called Navadvip, where the sadhana lila, the lila of a God's absorption in God, can happen. This is a wonderful thing. And for me, the greatest mystery that the Queen of Vrindavan we celebrated yesterday suddenly wants to assist him and help him in doing that. So, and whatever Radhika is doing, she is taking us with her. So suddenly, entering a world to assist Gadadhara, to assist in that wonderful service. So for me, this is one of the great mysteries. And when personally in my life, the first time I went to Navadvip, I wanted to stay at a few places. And mysteriously, it was arranged that I stayed in Champahati, which is the place of Gaura-Gadadhara, where the brother of Gadadhara himself, Vaninath, he installed these wonderful, beautiful deities of Gaura and Gadadhara. And I lived there with a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Nayananda Das Brahmachari. He lived there at that time. And I had no idea, but I prayed, I want to be introduced in your world. And when these kinds of prayers are in the heart, so much help is offered to us. So, and he offered me to Gaura-Gadadhara at that time. Actually, we made even a ceremony. He offered me to the feet of Gaura-Gadadhara.
Gaura-Gadadhara was already...
No, in Champahati.
Oh, yeah, but this Gaura-Gadadhara was not yet.
No,
okay,
it's much later.
I see.
They came much later.
I see.
So, and later I found out that many of our acharyas, especially our Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was a very fond worshipper of Gaura-Gadadhara. And for me, whole Gaura-lila and whole Vrindavan is there in Gaura-Gadadhara. And I just wanted to give my life to them, and then they appeared. So, but it's the mystery, and we could spend the rest of our life discussing about Gauranga and their associates, and I would know we would make the best of the remaining years doing that. And it's this wonderful joy now that we can have this festival today to hear about Gaura-Gadadhara from our dear Maharaj, and to understand when we go to bed tonight, just rubbing the eyes in amazement and said, oh, it's special. We have a new family, like an Indian girl at the time of marriage. Suddenly, so today is the day of our marriage. Today is the day where a sambandha, a relationship, is made or deepened with the most wonderful divine personalities, which can really nourish our heart. So, when we first met, very quick, the topic of Gaura-Gadadhara came up. Thank you so much. It's just a little introduction.
Okay. Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Namashilishtam Manamati Sattiputram Atrasharupam Rupam Tasya Grajamarupurim Matharim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Gidiparam Maho Radhikamadhavasram Tapto Yasya Pratitya Kripaya Sri Gurum Tam Natasme Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nikhila Shruti Mali Ratnamala Dhyuti Nirajita Padapankajanta Aji Mukta Kulairupashyamanam Paritastam Harinam Samshrayami Anadipitacharim Chirat Karunayavatirunakalam Samarpaitamannatujvalarasan Savakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Diyuti Kadamba Sandipita Shada Hridaye Kandaresh Purato Va Sachinandana Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato sankirtanaikapitaro kamalaya taksho Vishwambaro Dwijabaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataru Ladini Shakti Sharupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namastute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Radhe Vrindavanadeshe Karunamrita Vahine Kripaya Nijapadav Dasyan Mayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Paradhalakshay Shiktasya Kamadi Tarangamadhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Sri Sachidanand Gaur Hari Ki Jai Sri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sri Gaur Gadadhar Ji Ki Jai Shri Sri Radha Govind Ji Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Preman Hari Bol So, she needs to see me to read my lips so she can translate, right? Okay. I'm learning some. Yeah, no, it's okay. So good morning to all again. Pranam. And thank you so much, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, for your introduction. That was a real Mangala Charan. So here we are with our Radhastami celebration overflowing into today's topic. That's how it should happen. No, it should be overflowing in anticipation before the official day and overflowing as a result of the celebration after the official day.
It's Adivas Titi, but there is no Pratibas.
Yeah, we have to establish that in our sampradaya for sure. Adivas means like the ceremony, like in anticipation of a certain celebration. So he's saying we have to do something. We have to create some ceremony for after the celebration to continue.
De tag zuvor, die Aufregung, Tag zuvor, wo man das schon feiert.
Ja.
Aber dann hat man noch den Kater danach.
When we are finishing that ceremony, we have to, again to start the Adivas ceremony for the next year or something. That's Kirtaniya Sadahari, right? So that's our world. That's where we want to swim. No? That's the ocean we want to float for eternity, diving deep. So the inspiration came to, since here Sri Gaur Gadadhara are there presiding deities. I remember first time I heard about the existence of someone called Krishna Chandra Prabhu. You may know him. So I heard about him, and almost the very first thing I heard is he worshipped Gaur Gadadhara. No? So I got like, like some chills came. Gaur Gadadhara. No, that's not so common. So that was like a very immediate samskar, even without talking to him first time, without knowing, but just Gaur Gadadhara appeared like in between, no, creating the sense of sambandhas he was mentioning. So as he mentioned, when we first met, just like Gaur Gadadhara came in immediately. So this is a very, as Krishna Chandra Prabhu, very rahashamai, very secret. The nature of this topic is very secret. If what we shared yesterday was confidential, then fasten your seatbelt, because yesterday was a warming up for today, so to say. And I beg forgiveness if for some of you the topic may be too way beyond your head. It will be beyond everyone's head, so it's okay. You are not alone in that. In one sense, this topic is the the deepest of the deepest, basically. No? And of course, I'm basically ashamed to be here trying to say something about the deepest of the deepest. I mean, but that's indeed a test or a confirmation of the powerful mercy and grace that flows through Gaura-lila, that allows someone like me to try to say something. I'm not going to say that I will say something, but just to attempt to say something. Just that's not my merit, my decision, so to say. No, to begin with, it was their input. No? So yeah, we thought with Krishna Chandra Prabhu maybe today morning and evening meetings we can continue reflecting on the significance of Sri Radha but from the vantage point of Gaura-lila. Because again, if you love someone or you want to love someone, Gaura-lila, yeah. Because if you want to love someone, you will be open and passionate about knowing all the different facets of that person. So Gadadhar Pandit, in particular, we will concentrate on Gadadhar Pandit since we are talking about Radha in this unique moment. As Mahaprabhu is Krishna in a very unique moment, as Krishna Chandra put it, very unique adventure. Or Lila is a big adventure. It's a big, I like to call like a laboratory, no? Like to do an experiment. What does it mean to taste Radha? And the laboratory is exploding constantly or something. So as we will see, Krishna needs help, needs support, needs assistance, needs shelter, needs inspiration, needs grace from her for him to be successful, for Gaura-lila to be what it is. So Gadadhar Pandit will be such a crucial element. Gadadhar Pandit, in one sense, is the less spoken of person in the whole Gaura-lila, we could say. If you go through the biographies of Mahaprabhu, by comparison with other parishats, little is said about Gadadhar. But at the same time, he is the most crucial figure in the whole Lila. As I would say the other day, without Gadadhar Pandit, there is no Gaura-lila. Without Gadadhar Pandit, Gaura-lila will be a failure, basically.
Predestined failure.
Yeah. Before starting the match, you already lost the game, something like that. So that's a very interesting topic. And these topics, to talk about Gadadhar, to talk about Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu has a very broad side, but also has a very deep side. So there's breadth and depth. And sometimes I've seen that, not always, but in many places in our community, the emphasis on Mahaprabhu is on the breadth side. Like he's giving Sankirtan and it's okay. It's glorious. It's beautiful. But all that is coming from from what he's experiencing, the depth of his own experience. And sometimes Gaura-lila, Mahaprabhu's experience, what to speak of Gadadhar's role, I will say my personal opinion, it's not emphasized enough in our Sampradaya. Gaura-lila many times is just seen as a bridge to Krishna Lila, but not as a destiny unto itself, or not as the innermost chamber of Krishna Lila. Because in one sense, Gaura-lila and Krishna Lila are not two separate things. No? As Krishna and Mahaprabhu are not two different people. So Nadi and Braj are not two different realms in one sense. They are a deeper dimension of the other, basically, we could say. So I personally feel, I was planning to write a whole book about this, but some things happened in my life and I ended writing radical personalism. But still The notes are there, like the 200 plus pages of notes to write on Mahaprabhu and Gadadhara are waiting. So with your blessing, hopefully we may be able to do some service in the future. Because I feel that need, to plumb the depths of what does it mean, what Gaura-lila does mean, what Mahaprabhu, what Gadadhara, what does it mean to be a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Gaudiya means related first and foremost with what's going on in Gaudadesh eternally. As Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta will say, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya Rupanoga Janera Jivan. So, for us, sometimes called Rupanoga Vaishnavas, those who follow in the footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. He says, Mahaprabhu is non-different from Radha and Krishna. And to talk about that is the life and soul of all the Rupanuga Vaishnavas. So our life and soul is to talk about how Mahaprabhu is Radha, in which sense he's Radha and Krishna. Because we can say he's Radha and Krishna in a very simplistic sense. But in one sense, he's not Radha and Krishna in every sense, because if not, what happens with Gadadhara? No? So he's Krishna, tasting the mood of Sri Radha specifically. That's what is mentioned in the Mangala Charanam Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's Krishna, tasting the mood of Radha. So again, the question comes, so where is Radha then? No? That Radha in Gaura-lila is Sri Gadadhara Pandit. Serving, as we say these days, serving his beloved in a very specific way. Why? Because Gaura-lila is a very specific lila where Krishna has a very specific necessity. Very specific, not abstract, not generic, but very specific. So, and I will say, the more specific the more specific the idea of God, the more specific will be the service necessity in connection to that idea. If we have a very generic, abstract idea of who God is, probably we won't have a very specific idea of how to relate to Him. And you can see that in different traditions. In certain traditions, the idea of God is not very specific. It's just God, or someone over there, or someone over somewhere. But there's not too much of a conception of serving Him, even. What to speak of how to serve Him, what to speak of Him being in need, having certain service necessities, and how we can offer ourselves. And generally, all that is not so explored in many traditions. So the more specific the description of the Godhead, the more detailed the service necessity that will be presented to us. Do you understand my point? So, and we have in our tradition a very detailed, specific description of who God is, or who God are, and what's the necessity that comes out of their loving interaction. As we talk these days, love creates their own necessities, and what we can do in that. I mean, the idea is we are to offer ourselves to serve those necessities somehow or other. So we'll be talking a little bit today about that in connection to Gadadhara, who is again Sri Radha, appearing in a very specific way to serve Krishna, who is appearing in a very specific way called Mahaprabhu, with a very specific necessity. Everything is very specific, very personal, radically personal. So as we say yesterday, and some of you were also reading and sharing, Sri Radha is a guru of Krishna, we could say. No? Radhikar Prema Guru means Sisyanata. No? That's coming through the pen of Krishna Das Kaviraj, but that's being said by Krishna himself. No? That's his Abhiman. No? That's who I am, he says.
Das ist seine Grundstimmung. Abhiman heißt Grundstimmung in Krishna.
Sri Radha is my guru. I'm her dancing student. Radhikar Prem Guru. Specifically, he's saying her love is my guru. Of course, she's not different from her love. She's love personified. So Krishna is an eternal student in the school of love. That's how he chooses to define himself. That's very humble. Krishna is the most humble person. If you ask Krishna, who are you? He won't say, I'm God, the Almighty, controller of everyone. He said, I'm a student in the school of love. I'm learning to dance my first steps. No, something like that. Because it's unending. You can always dance so many new dances. So in Gaura-lila, we'll see how that same pattern happens. No, Gadadhara will be the guru of Mahaprabhu. Will be on a daily basis teaching him Bhagavatam, Tota Gopya, teaching him how to dance the Radha Bhav Nataka, no? Basically. So Gaura-lila and Krishna-lila are different in certain way, but in another way there are so many patterns that continue there expressed from another perspective. Like yesterday you were referring to this beautiful famous section of Govinda Lilamber tells, where Brinda Devi is telling Sri Radha how Krishna is like learning to dance basically, and Radha's presence in Radha Kunda that Krishna perceives everywhere is the teacher, and he's basically a puppet in those hands. So similarly, Sri Gadadhara will be instructing Mahaprabhu how to taste Radha Bhav, because she knows he wants to taste my heart. That's not an easy project. Again, you have to shift, as we will see, from Purusha Bhav to Para Prakriti Bhav. No? That's not so easy, especially if the Purusha is Purushotam, no? The Supreme Purusha. That's a complete shift in the perspective.
Just quickly.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Summarize this point.
Yeah.
Es geht immer darum, im ganzen inneren Leben ist die Transformation von Purush Bhav, das heißt die Stimmung, ich bin hier der Genießer, ich bin das Zentrum, zu Prakriti, Paraprakriti Bhav, zu einer Stimmung, einer bedingungslosen Dienerin, zur Verfügung stehend. Das ist ganz einfach zusammengefasst der ganze innere Weg vom Imitationsgott zum Seelenbewusstsein sozusagen hinzugehen. Aber Maharaj hat gerade gesagt, so schön, es ist nicht ganz einfach, dass dieser Weg geschehen kann, wenn du dem Parama Purusha bist, der allerhöchste, wahre Genießer bist, Krishna selber. Aber that he needs help in that biggest project. For ourselves, it's already a big project. Purusha Bhav to speak.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Mahaprabhu, actually Gaura-lila sometimes is called Acharya-lila, which means Gaur is Krishna, but acting as a guru. But also, despite he acts as a guru, he also has not only Gadadhara, so many gurus, but Gadadhara being a very important one. So the fact that you are an acharya like Mahaprabhu doesn't mean that you stop being a student. Like I like to say, to be a guru means to remain a student, but from another seat. You may have to take another seat, a little bit more fancy, whatever, but you are still a student, just from another perspective. So anyhow, Gadadhara Pandit, of course, in one sense, every member, we could speak about every member of the Panchatattva in such a way that each of them will be the most important. No? That's also a paradox. We can speak about Mahaprabhu, the most important. Nityananda Prabhu, the most important. No? Gadadhara Prabhu, the most important. Advaita Char, the most important. Srivas Pan, the most important. And there are so many reasons why each of them will be the most important. So that's also the paradox. I don't want to sound too like only Gadadhara is the most important, but in a certain way, yes, he's the most important. Because as I like to say, Mahaprabhu is Krishna. And this is my personal bias, sorry. But Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his most upgraded form. No? Experiencing something that as Krishna in Gaura-lila he's missing. Mhm. So Gaura-lila is including Krishna's highest version, so to say. No? Mahaprabhu. So if Gaura-lila includes Krishna's highest version, it must include Radha's highest version as well. No? Which is Gadadhara. So Gaur is Krishna in his most upgraded version. Gadadhara is Sri Radha in his most upgraded version. As I like to say, sometimes we hear that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You've heard that description. So we could say Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. Right? So similarly, as Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Radha is the Supreme Personality of the Goddess. And Gadadhara is the Supreme Personality of Radha. No? Gadadhara is Sri Radha in her ultimate form to serve Krishna in his ultimate form, basically. So if Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his moment of greatest need, we already talked these days about the vulnerability and the need to taste Radha Bhav, the risk of that, the emotional exposure of that, the vulnerability in that. So it means that Sri Radha will manifest accordingly to dedicate herself to that moment of her beloved's greatest need, where she will exhibit the most comprehensive dedication. That's Gadadhara Pandit. And because of that dedication, because of how Sri Radha is giving herself to Krishna as Gadadhara, so Mahaprabhu can be successful, is that we are here today. Because we can say, okay, I'm here today because of Mahaprabhu's gift, no? His Mahavadanya, no? Anarpita Charim Chir, all this, like he gave Unnatach Palarasa to the world. And I don't want to take that glory out from Mahaprabhu, of course. We glorify Mahaprabhu by the gift he is giving, but and how we are being blessed by that. But the point is, from whom he received that gift himself. Because what Mahaprabhu is giving to the world is an extension of his own experience. And he couldn't have his own experience if Gadadhara would not be facilitating that. So we are here because of Mahaprabhu's grace, but Mahaprabhu became Mahaprabhu by Gadadhara's grace. So by extension, we are here by Gadadhara's grace. If Gadadhara wouldn't be doing what he's doing, there will be no Ananda Dham, basically. So we owe this place to Gadadhara Prabhu. You get my point? So,
Kannst du das noch auf Deutsch?
So in so vielen Schriften wird immer wieder beschrieben, wie Krishna in der Gestalt von Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so viel Gnade verteilt. Oder den heiligen Namen und er erhebt alle, das Verteilen von ihm als die großherzigste Inkarnation, die großherzigste Inkarnation. Aber woher hat er das alles bekommen? Nämlich von Gadadhara. Es ist Krishna, der ausgestattet ist mit einem Geschenk aus Srimati Radhikas Herz. Von dort kommt das Verteilen. Man kann wieder say, in technical terms, the distributing of prema in Mahaprabhu is the Yavadashraya Vritti of Srimati Radhika. It's like this mood in Ujjwala Nilamani. Whoever comes in connection with Radhika is like by the vibration just taken. So that Gadadhara is like initiating Mahaprabhu in that.
So yeah, in few words, as Krishna Chandra Prabhu mentioned, Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his most generous moment But that's actually happened because Gadadhara is Sri Radha in her most generous moment. No? She's giving herself to him uniquely as Gadadhara, and that allows him to be the most generous. No? So Mahaprabhu is known as Mahavadanja, but Gadadhara should be Mahavadanja or something like that. And Sri Radha's Gadadhara is so generous that even for those who have an affinity toward Radha Dashyam, which is kind of the main current in our tradition, in Nitya Navadvip, those devotees will have the chance to serve not only the Radha Dashyam that Mahaprabhu is experiencing, but also to offer Radha Dashyam to Radha herself as Gadadhar. So you will have double Radha Dashyam opportunity, double opportunity to serve Sri Radha, to serve the mood of Radha in Mahaprabhu's heart, and to serve Sri Radha personally as Gadadhar in his emptiness, no? In giving all that he has to Mahaprabhu. So there will be a double Radha Dasyam. No? But you have one Radha Dasyam in Braja-lila, you have double Radha Dasyam in Gaura-lila.
I just translate quickly.
Okay?
Das ist so tief, der Kulminationspunkt in der ganzen Sampradaya ist es, hinzugehen zum ewigen liebenden Dienst zu Srimati Radhika Radha Dasyam. So im ewigen Navadvip, im ewigen Lila von Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kommen all diese Manjaris auch, und wir auch, kommen dahin und dienen, dort ist Radha Dasyam, man dient Srimati Radharani, aber jetzt ist es wie verdoppelt, weil es ist Krishna selber, der ja die Stimmung von Srimati Radhika kostet, dort im ewigen Navadvip. Dann ist dort und man dient Srimati Radharani in dieser Form, aber Radharani ist ja auch noch da als Gadadhar. So ist es wie eine Potenzierung von Radha Dasyam. It's like, magnified, Radha Dasyam.
Yeah. Yeah, because Gaura-lila is Krishna Lila magnified. So whatever happens in Braja-lila, it will be like overflowing in Gaura-lila.
I do not get that point where you say like by Gadadhar's grace, Krishna became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How did you formulate it?
No, the point was that Krishna's Mahaprabhu, why Krishna appears as Mahaprabhu? To taste Radha Bhav. And that can only happen if Radha agrees to give that bhav. And that's Gadadhar giving the bhav, and in that sense allowing Krishna to be Mahaprabhu. That was the point.
So that means that Gadadhar is in Krishna Lila who gives, or you use here in that example you use Gadadhara and Radharani as synonyms?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they are the same person.
Otherwise, Gadadhar in that form has to be in Krishna Lila who gives the grace, or it's Radharani who gives the grace.
I mean, there is no difference among the two. No, Radha and Gadadhar. Again, and also this is important point when we speak about Gaura-lila, Krishna Lila, and Radha giving the grace. We have to be careful not to think in terms of time, no, because Gaura-lila is eternal. It's not that at one point in time that happened. No, it's always going on. Sometimes a way of speaking about that so we can somehow conceive of eternal realities, which sometimes are difficult to figure out, as we talked the other days in our head, something that never began. Yes.
Darf ich auf Deutsch fragen und übersetzen? Ich kann das dann klarer formulieren. Ich habe 2 Fragen.
Just 2 questions.
Wir haben ja jetzt einmal gehört, dass diese Beziehung, dass die Beziehung zwischen Gaura und Gadadhar auch vor allem darin besteht, oder auch, dass Gauranga wirklich diese ganze Barmherzigkeit schenken kann, dass sich das speist daraus, dass er überhaupt die Barmherzigkeit von Gadadhar erfährt.
Yes, we just talked that the Mahaprabhu can give all the mercy. It only really has its root that he receives the grace of Gadadhar.
Und dass daraus eben auch so eine ganz spezifische Art und Weise, Gora zu dienen, auch erwächst.
Yes, and by that, some very specific way of serving Gauranga is like being born.
Und wir haben gehört, dass es zum einen ist, dass eben Gadadhara der Guru von Gauranga ist.
That Gadadhara is in one way the guru of Mahaprabhu.
Und da wäre jetzt einmal die Frage, ich fände es so schön, so konkreter darüber zu hören, weil das ist jetzt noch so allgemein, etwas genau über dieses, auf welche Art und Weise schenkt Gadadhara wirklich diese Barmherzigkeit.
So I would like to have it a little more specific. In which way is he the guru, and in which way is he teaching Mahaprabhu to become that what he is? That it's not saying in an abstract way.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, das wäre die erste.
This is the first question.
Okay. I'll reply to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So, of course, Mahaprabhu has many gurus. And as we know, from all those gurus, somehow he's receiving different, he's being facilitated to get closer and closer to the experience of Radha Bhav. No? For example, he has Ishvara Puri as his Diksha Guru. And it is mentioned that Ishvara Puri had association before giving initiation to Mahaprabhu with Gadadhara. So somehow there were some Gadadhara samskars in Ishvara Puri. So those were passed to Mahaprabhu in Diksha. Mahaprabhu then received sannyas from Kesha Bharati, and of course we know that the sannyas of Mahaprabhu, although externally has its reasons in terms of social position and how people will look at the sannyasi and they will be attentive to the hearing, it has its own internal meaning. That's a whole separate lecture, the sannyas of Mahaprabhu, a whole separate retreat, 1 week or something. Separate lifetime. So I'm willing to have another lifetime here if that means going on there. Yeah. All the ones that we need, no problem. But that's deeply tied with getting closer to Radha Bhav as well. Like as the gopis are leaving everything behind for the sake of Krishna, Mahaprabhu is doing. Then another Siksha Guru he will be Ramananda Roy, like Ragamarg Guru. When they meet in Godavari, South India, the famous Sambad, the famous conversation they have, that superficial, go deeper, that superficial, go deeper, that superficial, go deeper. At one point, Mahaprabhu says, stop talking, that's too much. He covers Ramananda's mouth. So that's also part of his getting closer and closer to what he wants to. But eventually, Mahaprabhu returns because Mahaprabhu goes to Puri very quickly, and very quickly goes to South India after being in Puri, and stays a few years outside of Puri, and then returns to Puri just to stay there till he passes, his lila closes. And when he returns from Puri after having had Diksha, sannyas, he settles in Puri and on a daily basis, Gadadhar Pandit will start to, Mahaprabhu already comes with all these samskars, with all these impressions. Now let's do something with this. Sit down on a daily basis, and Gadadhar will teach Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu, basically. Like the famous painting that was ordered by Prataparudra Maharaj. Maybe you have seen it. That's a nice one. Yeah, I'm sure you all seen it. We can look for that then. Let's see if I have it here. I'm just putting it in Google. Let's see if it comes. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, there are versions of it. So here's the one that is not the original. I want to see the original. I think this is the one. Let's see. Yeah. But I cannot see it be too big. Okay, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There may be another version, but there's Gadadhar Pandit teaching Bhagavatam here. Mahaprabhu is listening here. Then we can share the picture with all of you if you want. That's pretty beautiful. That was commanded by Prataparudra Maharaj, who's the one offering Dandavat here. No, so that's nice. Also, he ordered, please do a painting and put me offering Dandavat to everyone there. No?
Is a similar picture hanging at Jiva's?
Yeah. There's one in different places. No, they have a separate version of it. That's why I say there are different versions of the same, because it's a very. This one's in this one there was not there, but it's also Haridas Thakur hanging the Gamsha on one side also. What happened?
Kommst du nach? Soll ich übersetzen?
Ja, ich habe den Namen von dem von der
Prataparudra, der König von Indien.
Ich habe ja Zusammenhang nicht richtig verstanden, weil das sind
I translate it's a little complicated. Huh? Soll ich, oder willst du? Okay.
We will shift translators. Okay.
Kennt die.
So anyhow, they. Oh, sorry. I will wait for the translation. So Gadadhar Pandit starts to teach Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu, because remember, no, what did we say? What did we say yesterday? What was the Srimad Bhagavatam about? Thank you. So if you pay attention, the name of the book already, this is about Sri Mad. That's the madness of Sri for him. So if that's what the Bhagavatam is about, ultimately it's about Radha Bhav, we could say. No? So that's what Gadadhar Pandit is instructing Mahaprabhu about, because Mahaprabhu wants to taste that. Wants to take that which is the very essence of the Bhagavatam. So that's why on a daily basis, Gadadhar is giving lessons to Mahaprabhu in Tota Gopinath, and then Mahaprabhu will go back to the Gambhira and do his homework in the Gambhira, chanting and crying and rolling on the ground and in separation. No? That's the practical result of the lessons he's receiving on a daily basis. He will be assisted because the homework will be challenging. So Swarup Damodar, Ramananda, they will be there like supporting Mahaprabhu. But basically that will be the way in which Gadadhar Pandit is a guru of Sri Chaitanya. He's instructing him on a daily basis, teaching Bhagavatam, teaching Radha Bhav, teaching how to enter into her experience, into her heart, day after day after. And when Mahaprabhu is just entering more and more and more, as we say, Gadadhar Pandit starts to disappear. Because Mahaprabhu starts to enter into Radha Bhav. So if he's there without him, next to him, that may remind him someone else is Radha, so to say. So Mahaprabhu enters the stage. Like if you have an actor and your teacher, so the teacher is instructing the actor, and when the actor goes into the stage, the teacher won't go into the stage with the student. He will remain at the side, appreciating, like, nice. So something like that, no? Gadadhar is receding into the background. The more Mahaprabhu is becoming Radha, the more Gadadhar disappears. The more Gadadhar is emptying himself. But that emptying is glorious in its own way. We could think, empty? That doesn't sound too interesting. Now we may think the idea is to be full. And Gadadhar is just like, Srila Siddhar Maharaj will poetically describe Gadadhar as an empty bag. Again, poetically. Like Krishna plundered all his wealth and ran. And Gadadhar is running behind Mahaprabhu like a beggar, because all her wealth, his wealth has been stolen from Krishna. Now, again, in a poetical way. No? Speaking about the dedication of Gadadhar, the willingness to give whatever he has for the success of the beloved. Poetically, Srila Siddhar, I really like this. Maybe you know this example. He will say, Krishna, which day Radha was born? According to lunar position. Which day? You have the replies in the name of the celebration. Yeah. Wait. Don't run there. 1 minute. So Sri Radha was born on Astami, which means half moon. Krishna was born on also Astami, which is half moon. You put the 2 moons together and you have Purnim, full moon, Mahaprabhu. Huh? Since Mahaprabhu is in one way, Radha and Krishna combined, he's born in full moon. The half moon on Krishna, the half moon of Radha, 1 moon. Now, on which day Gadadhara was born? Amavasya, which means new moon, which new moon means no moon, empty. On which day Gadadhara passed away? Amavasya, empty. And it is say also on the hottest month of the year. No? In India, you know what that means. So he appeared and disappeared during the summer season in India with no moon. No? Like this is again the poetic description, empty, in the most difficult moment, giving himself as much as he can. For making Mahaprabhu successful. So again, all this is speaking about the service disposition of Radha as Gadadhara. Totally identify with the need of Mahaprabhu. Sorry?
I didn't hear the last thing.
I don't know what to say. Last thing. That this speaks about Radha's dedication as Gadadhara serving Mahaprabhu in the moments of his greatest need. Remember, Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his greatest need, trying to taste Radha Bhav. So his need becomes, Mahaprabhu's need becomes Gadadhara's need because he's totally identified with the beloved. Whatever my beloved wants, it's my desire. He wants that, I want that for him. There's not separate agenda, separate. I have my desires and he has his desires. I wish him the best with his desire. No, it doesn't work like that. He has this desire. I totally identify with them. They become my desires. So in that way, they are ready to serve him. He is ready to serve Mahaprabhu in his hour of need. Why? So we could say Gadadhara Pandit is Sri Radha in her moment of greatest necessity because she is serving Krishna in his moment of greatest necessity as Mahaprabhu. Should I repeat again, just in case? So Gadadhara is Radha, I repeat, in her moment of greatest necessity. Why? Because Krishna's Mahaprabhu is in his greatest necessity, and his greatest necessity becomes Radha's greatest necessity. So you can imagine, for us trying to serve them, how great will be the necessity of service then. If we identify with their service necessity, that will become our greatest necessity also. So that's how Gadadhara is assisting Mahaprabhu and giving new life. This is like the beautiful verse that Srila Sridhar Maharaj composed. You may know it, glorifying Gadadhara. That's beautiful. We can recite it. It says, no, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song. This is one of the Das Godrum Bhajan Upadesh, which also is like, this says, Nilam Bodhi Tate Sadasa Vidaha Kshepan Vidam Bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Katha Madhiraya Sanjeevayam Bhatiya Srimad Bhagavatam Sada Sanayana Ashrupayanai Pujayam Goswami Pravaro Gadadhara Vibhor Bhuyatmade Katgati. Another lifetime for that verse we need. Another lifetime to explain that verse. Yeah. So after this class, we will all have made a vow to come back to this world minimum 10 lifetimes to go through some of this stuff. I will meet each other, we'll be together, so no problem. Is that okay?
Yes.
If not, then that means you still want mukti. There's some problem.
Which is the second question.
Yes, I got lost and found in the topic.
I would have a question which
Uh,
really fits to her first question. So if I
Your question fits what we are talking now?
yes, it's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. My question is, most of the we worship Gadadhara and Mahaprabhu in Nadia-lila. So before he took sannyas. So my question, if we just spoke about how Gadadhara Pandit was teaching Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in Puri, or did I already discussed in Nadia Bhagavatam?
You are asking?
Yeah.
No, that's taking place in Nitya Navadvip. Nitya,
Was it immer, or
because in Nitya Navadvip, Gadadhara will teach Mahaprabhu's Bhagavatam on a daily basis. Okay, in the descriptions of the Astaka Lila in Nitya Navadvip, no? in certain part of the day, the Purban Lila before Madhyan Lila, Gadadhar Pandit is teaching Mahaprabhu's Bhagavatam eternally. Because again, he can never fully experience Radha Bhav, so he needs further instruction forever. But on the earthly Lila in Navadvip, at that point, Mahaprabhu in the beginning, as we know, Mahaprabhu was not a Vaishnava in the Lila. He was a Pandit for a big amount of time. Of course, eventually he became Nimai Pandit, initiated by Ishvar Puri Vaishnava, and Gadadhar was there. But his Radha Bhav was gradually unfolding. So that still didn't take place, the dynamics of the Bhagavatam class that happened more in Puri. On earth. But in Nitya Navadvip, that will be on Navadvip every single day.
And we worship only the deity. A deity means always in connection to the Nitya Lila. That's why we never worship a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a sannyasi.
Yeah. So the altar is a portal into the realms we want to attain eternally. So the way we have Krishna or Mahaprabhu will be according to the mode we want to serve them. Yeah.
Der Deity, die man verehrt, ist immer wie ein Portal, eine Türe zur ewigen Welt. Wir verehren nie Chaitanya Mahaprabhu als ein Sannyasi. Es ist immer in Bezug zur ewigen Welt.
But then in the eternal world, they are also dressed very opulent.
What do you mean by opulent? Like this?
Crowns. I mean, now they don't have like these jewels and pearls stitched, but some outfits we have, they are very opulent. And also
Are they very opulent?
Not really opulent.
Okay.
But just like, the chadar, they have stitches and like this, or it's like more simple.
My point is, sorry.
I think it's they might be even in Nitya Navadvip the greatest Aishwarya, like in Braj. In Braj there is palaces of jewels, but they think we are just cowherd people and we look cowherd paddies. Yeah. But the Aishwarya may be there in Nitya Navadvip also. Yeah. There is an Aishwarya, there is opulence there, but the mood is that we are just simple and we just adore. We are simple persons.
Yeah, there is more opulence in Vrindavan and Navadvip than in Vaikuntha, actually. In Vrindavan, every cow is Kamadhenu. Each grain of the soil is Chintamani. Every tree is Kalpavriksha. I mean, that's pretty Aishvaric. But, as Krishna Chandra Prabhu said, the psychology of the inhabitants has nothing to do with Aishwarya. I mean, Aishwarya is there because, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in Raga Varma Chandrika, you cannot have Madhurya without Aishwarya in the background. You need Aishwarya in the background to allow for the experience of Madhurya. But the psychology of the Brajavasis is that even if the Aishwarya comes to the foreground, their Madhurya, their intimacy, by Madhurya here I mean intimacy, increases. No? Like when Krishna lifted Govardhan That's pretty much Aishwarya. I mean, imagine you have your 5-year-old child lifting a hill with a small finger of the less powerful hand. You start doubting, like, is he my son or is he like Superman or something? But so you could feel, because before that, the Brajavasi would have here, oh, Krishna killed this, Krishna, but they will say, no, those are tales that the boys are creating. Those boys will be boys. But now we're all witnessing Krishna is lifting this great hill. So that's Aishwarya moment. But their psychology is such that when they witness Aishwarya, their Madhurya increases. So some of them will say, oh, huh? The hill must be too heavy. You have seen the paintings. They're all with sticks, like helping Krishna. Some of his friends will, Sridham will say, Krishna, hey, give me the hill to me. You are weaker than me. I always defeat you in wrestling. So pass me the hill so you can take some rest. That's how the psychology works. No? Yashoda will come and bring something for him to eat. No? So he's not weak enough so he can sustain the hill. Some other friends will come and give massage. Nobody thinking like, oh, Aishwarya, a problem here. No? So yeah, in connection to what Krishna Chandra mentioned, no? Aishwarya is there, but it's completely like buried under layers and layers of Madhurya, intimacy and love and affection. So if sometimes we see in the deity some Aishwarya, it points to the Aishwarya that is there, but we should be careful not to get stuck, so to say, into the Aishwarya, and it's only Aishwarya. No? So you had a second question.
Yes. Wir haben ja darüber gehört, hat ja so betont, dass wenn man im Nitya Navadvip zum Beispiel als Manjari dient, dann ist es so speziell, weil man dann sowohl Gauranga dient, also als Krishna in der Stimmung von Radharani und Gadadhara, der selbst Radhika ist.
You mentioned that it's so special that the Radha Dasyam, the mood of Radha Dasyam is like doubled or magnified in the Nitya Navadvip.
Und meine Frage ist, wie ist das im nicht ewigen Navadvip? Weil man hört immer wieder über die Beziehung der Goswamis zu Gauranga, aber ich habe zum Beispiel ganz wenig bisher gehört über die Beziehung der Goswamis zu Gadadhara. Ob da auch eine spezielle Stimmung oder Beziehung ist und wenn ja, wie kann...
So I heard a lot about the relationship of in this world, how the Goswamis, how they related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But is there also some relation of the Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis mainly, you mean,
Yeah.
with Gadadhara?
Well, for example, those who are in the Gadadhara Parivar are of the opinion that Rupa Goswami, for example, and Sanatan Goswami, they have received Diksha from Gadadhar Pandit. Although there's not a way of proving that, there are no like document historical ways of connecting. That's what they received in their tradition. I'm talking from that perspective of that particular Parivar. So of course, if they were disciples of Gadadhar, I'm sure there was a pretty good connection between at least some of the Goswamis. Again, there is not something that we can prove historically, and in that sense, in the main texts that we have, Chaitanya Bhagavad, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so on, there is not much that I can recall. You may correct me, Krishna Chandra, but that I can recall, not too many descriptions about interactions between Gadadhar Pandit punctually, and it's not that they never met. Of course they did. I know Raghunath Das Goswami was in Puri, Gadadhar was in Puri, Rupa and Sanatan will visit there, Raghunath Bhatta. But that's like official descriptions of interactions. We don't have that much information. Of course, it doesn't mean they don't have they didn't have, and it doesn't mean they don't have it on a daily basis in eternity.
I think some things in the scriptures we have to understand by hinting. It's like where in the Bhagavatam is it described the separation that Krishna is experiencing. It's not described. but it's described how Radhika feels separation. So, it's actually hinting. And this is how Shastra, Rasa Shastra especially, should be understood. It's chymotic. It shows on something. Dvani. This is Dvani.
Yeah. Paroksham Mama Chapriyam.
Paroksham Mama Chapriyam.
And in this case,
one has to chant and feel something. How my Rupa Manjari serves now her Swamini in Gaura-lila.
Yeah, I think that's also important, that not necessarily we have to have everything given and told, because there's place for mystery, so to say. There is place for not knowing certain things that will be only revealed, particularly personally in one's heart, according to one's bhajan. So he's giving you some homework to do. Like when Narada told Vyasa, enter into samadhi and solve your problem.
I had a question about service in Nitya Navadvip. So what I understand, the activity there, what they do is like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is only hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So what service?
Only hearing?
Yeah.
Who say that?
Krishna Chandra said that they do on a daily basis.
Also.
Yeah, but not all day doing that only.
Okay. So what is the service there? What manjaris do, or in the form of Uttama Bhakti Seva?
Well, that's a long answer, because you have to go through the whole day of Mahaprabhu, and we can go, of course, but there's this description of the Astaka Lila of Nitya Navadvip. That's a long topic, but it's an interesting one. Maybe too much for today, but we can talk during these days. I've written some description of the eight period of the day of Mahaprabhu's Seva, based on the descriptions given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The Goswamis didn't talk about that. They hinted, and the future, the next acharyas were able, like Dhyana Chandra Goswami, Gopal Guru Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, many of them elaborated on that. And there is some very nice description of the 8 periods of the days and what happens in Nitya Navadvip, and how we are invited to serve in the daily activities of Mahaprabhu, waking up and again getting together with associates, engaging in kirtan, studying Bhagavatam, roaming in the forest, and so on and so forth. Maybe these days we can go more in detail through. It takes time, but we did that last year? No.
We did from the Sakyabhav perspective.
In Krishna Lila.
In Krishna Lila, yeah.
Okay.
And in Gaura-lila, you made some.
yeah.
Oh,
also.
okay. Yeah, we can.
Sorry, we interrupted you in the flow here. We just
Okay.
couldn't restrain the questions.
Those are waves in the same ocean, so it's okay. We are still in the same ocean, so Gaura-lila. Now I was quoting this nice verse from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and again that takes a lifetime to explain minimum, but beautifully he's depicting him how Gadadhara is accompanying Mahaprabhu in his hour of greatest need. He said, Nilambodi tate sadasvavidaha kripambitam bandavam. Nilambodi, on the shore of the ocean in Jagannath Puri, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is depicting this scene. Swabiraha, Mahaprabhu is in separation from himself, because he's Krishna in the mood of Radha in separation of Krishna. So in that sense, he's Krishna in separation of Krishna, being in the mood of Radha. So he uses the term Swabiraha. And Kshepambitam Bandhavam. Gadadhara is like a Bandhava, like a very intimate friend of Mahaprabhu. And what he's doing, how he's showing his friendship, Srimad Bhagavati-katha Madiraya Sanjivayam Bhatya. He's pouring the wine of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a poetic way of describing the daily Bhagavatam lectures that Mahaprabhu is assisting to. So Gadadhara is pouring on Mahaprabhu's ears the wine of the Bhagavatam, which is acting like a Sanjeevani. Sanjeevani is like this herb that brings one almost dead person back to life. You know the situation with Lakshman and Hanuman traveling, the famous picture he's bringing the whole mountain because he was looking for this particular herb to save Lakshman's life. So Sanjeevani means something that brings you back to life. So Mahaprabhu is dying in separation, tasting Radha Bhava in separation. And Gadadhara is bringing him back to life by pouring the wine of Bhagavatam more and more and more and more. And then he describes the reading of Gadadhar. This is a very nice part. Srimad Bhagavatam Sada Sanayana Shrupaya Naipujayam. So, wow. Srila Siddha Maharaj mentions sometimes there is, before reading Bhagavatam, you offer puja to the Bhagavatam. You have seen sometime Bhagavat Saptaha, these readings, they worship the Bhagavatam, they offer artik to the Bhagavatam. So he's saying, well, here Gadadhara is offer artik in his own way. Instead of offering water with a conch shell, torrents of tears are coming from his eyes. And in this way, he's worshipping the Bhagavatam. And the heart, his heart has such a flame of devotion. That's the Deepa. And in this way, all different elements, his offering is a Puspanjali-katha, the flower petals in the form of his words. So that's how, when you are very advanced, that's how you will offer artik. You will need plate and incense. So I don't have matches to light the Deepa. All the elements are included.
All the elements, like the tears, are the...
I mean, here only he's mentioning the tears, not like but implying everything else. Now the rest you have to figure it out in your own heart, so to say, by implication.
The vastra and the air.
Concentrate on what I'm sharing now. You are being too curious now. Krishna Chandra will give you Japamala. There it is. Go to your bhajan, go to your cave, and everything else will be revealed there. Like someone once, Srila Prabhupada reminds me, it's a loving chastisement. Prabhupada was talking about something like that, and someone started to ask very detailed questions about the Lila. And Prabhupada say, like, why don't you go there and find it for yourself? No, like, it's not that we have to say everything, no? We say something to the point that it inspires us to engage in bhajan, and whatever remaining details will come out from your bhajan kutter, so to say. No? So anyhow, that's how Gadadhar was worshipping the Bhagavatam. So many tears. And it is said that the Bhagavatam of Gadadhar, and this is a whole different story with Srinivasacharya. That Srinivasacharya was sent to study the Bhagavatam with Gadadhar. And Srinivasacharya went to Gadadhar. Gadadhar was in his last year. Mahaprabhu already passed away. You know, that's another lifetime. No? Because Gadadhar passed away 1 year after Mahaprabhu. Less than 1 year even. And he became so emaciated, very small. That's how the whole Tota Gopinath Lila came, as you know. No? The Tota Gopinath was standing, and Gadadhar was so emaciated he couldn't worship him. And he was organizing for someone else to worship. Maybe later today we can talk more about Tota Gopinath. And Krishna said, no, I want you to worship. And for you, but I cannot reach you, say Gadadhar. Say, okay, I will make the arrangements. So next day, Krishna was in Padmasana, like this. That's basically the only deity of Krishna seated like this instead of in Tribanga. So that was the last year, and Gadadhar was like shrinking in separation. So Srinivas Acharya went to learn Bhagavatam from Gadadhar. But when he arrived to Gadadhar's place in Tota Gopinath, they went to the Bhagavatam, and he saw the pages of Gadadhar's Bhagavatam, palm leaves, and all the ink was removed because of all the tears. So in one sense, the pages were empty. Of course, in another sense, the pages were full. The essence of the Bhagavatam is that. In one sense, it seems there's nothing there. No, everything is there. Those tears are everything, the essence of the Bhagavata. But in a practical sense, it was not possible to read the Bhagavata, to teach the Bhagavata without. So Srinivasacharya was very quick in trying to get another copy, which of course at that time you couldn't download the PDF in 5 minutes. So he had to run to another place. Yeah, and Gadadhara was shrinking. As you know, when he returns, Gadadhara was already passed away in separation 1 day before Rath Yatra. Because it is said that for Gadadhara will have been too much to be in Rath Yatra without Mahaprabhu. The previous Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu was there. Rath Yatra without Mahaprabhu is just like a killing combination, killing literally. So Gadadhara passed away a day before Rath Yatra, basically. So I'm saying all this in connection to this verse, Gadadhara's tears, and how he's worshipping, pujayam, how he's offering puja to the Bhagavatam. And the last line, therefore, Srila Srimad say, therefore, Goswami Prabharo Gadadhara Vibhur Bhuyat Madhika Gati. May that best of all the Goswamis, Goswami Prabharo Gadadhar Prabhu, Bhuyat Madhika Gati, may he be my only goal. May I be one pointed into entering into that particular current. Srila Srimad will translate that section like may I enter into that particular current of that ocean and live in that unique current forever of Gadadhar Prabhu. So this, my point is this showing how Gadadhar Pandit will very intimately and specifically assist Mahaprabhu and accompany and serve his necessity, which became his necessity, so to say. You want to add something?
Just, because he mentions this moment of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
And I heard from different sadhus that Mahaprabhu is there listening, and he already knows Srimad Bhagavatam. It's about his own Leela in Vrindavan. Krishna knows. But he doesn't know the perspective that Srimati Radhika has there. And he tried so many times to ask Radhika, like in Gopi Geet, Krishna is hiding in the bushes. And the gopis are singing, what do they now speak when I'm not here? And Krishna takes, like in Prem Samput, he takes many different forms, sometimes of a Devi, of the heavenly planet, and he's going to Srimati Radhika. What is she speaking? What is she feeling about me? It's very difficult. And Radhika is not, Genau, yeah. She's not opening her heart. But now it's like the first time Radhika is speaking. And when someone is speaking, it's not just the words, it's always the mood. That's why even in this world, it said we should not just read the Bhagavatam. We should hear it with devotees who have an experience of it. Then it's the same principle applies there. Krishna knows the Bhagavatam. Baraha Pidam Natavadavapu. He knows when I went in the forest in the early morning with my cows and my friends, he knows what was going on in himself. But then he saw Srimati Radhika behind the trees. She's looking at him. What was at that moment in her mind? He has no idea. And Radhika was not speaking about. But now we have that very moment that Radhika is speaking what she was feeling at that very moment and at each and every moment. So this is like a complete new revelation. So it's very wonderful, that verse from Sridhar Maharaj.
Thank you. So we can continue forever, but Kirtaniya Sadahari Nityam Bhagavat Sivaya. but maybe if you want, we can put stop here, so and we can continue later.
You didn't even start. This was still your
Yes, yes.
We disturbed you.
No, it's okay. No, I appreciate it. I preferred all these questions in between, so they are related to what we are sharing. So no introduction.
Sorry, it was like we couldn't hold back.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, I want to honor that incapacity of holding back. Yeah, I have to honor that. So yeah, if you agree, we can put the katha to rest for a few hours and continue later today and see what
we have some more questions also. And
yeah, I mean, if you want to share questions now related to the topic, and if not, we will have also questions and answers on different topics. But
jemand noch eine Frage zu dem Thema?
I have just a technical question. It's not so important question. When you say it's a poetic description, you mean in the language of expressed in the language of Sahitya, or it's Alankar, or is there a difference between Sahitya and Alankar? Or you know about this? Because you mentioned a few times that this full moon and half moon and this is an expression in poetics. So I know that, but I don't understand it yet so well. So it's Sahitya or Alankar, or what's the difference between Sahitya and Alankar? Do you know?
Yeah, but I think we will be maybe going to. I mean, Sahitya has more to do with a certain type of genre. You say in English? Genre of text that have to do with poetry and romantic poetry in particular. Alankar mostly means ornaments. So alankars are part of Sahitya, let's say. You have different types of alankars. No? There are not only one. Of course, if you read, for example, Kavi Karnapur's, what's his? Alankar Kaustuv, then you have a very detailed exposition of different alankars. So when I say my case, this is poetry, I never meant something specific about alankar or something, but just that they are using some example from nature, like middle, half moon, to depict something more beyond the object of comparison, so to say. So like a metaphor, but in the context of something very deep and beautiful. So in that sense, I say that's poetry. No, because in poetry you will find all these types of metaphors over and over again. Yeah.
So that's actually Sahitya, or that kind of description from the nature that will be a part of Sahitya.
Yeah.
And Maharaj, it's something which I always wondered, and when Mahaprabhu left, most of the associates of Mahaprabhu left very short after, like Swarup Damodar, and they couldn't hold themselves. How is it possible that like the most intimate associate, like Gadadhara, Radhika herself, could stay so long? And she was like one of the last associates who stayed.
I mean, less than a year.
Yeah.
By comparison, it was a long time.
Is there a reason why she stayed so long?
I think we can. What comes to my heart in this moment will be like, first of all, that Mahaprabhu was requested Gadadhara to continue on the worship of Tota Gopinath, and I will say that for us to fully understand that, we should then describe more in detail. Maybe we can talk about later today about Tota Gopinath. Why Tota Gopinath? What's Tota Gopinath? But in few words, basically, Tota Gopinath is the heart of Mahaprabhu in Radha Bhav. How Mahaprabhu is Krishna in Radha Bhav, experiencing Krishna. You follow my point? Because if you're in Radha Bhav, you're experiencing Krishna from the perspective of Radha. So Tota Gopinath basically represents Krishna experience through the lens of Radha Bhav, and Gadadhar is worshipping that. Gadadhar is worshipping basically the heart of Mahaprabhu in the form of Tota Gopinath. So in that sense, as a quick reply, I will say like that's a way that he was able to sustain his life for that year almost. But,
I don't have him, but I have the seva to him.
yeah. But yeah, many acharyas then will make the point that when the day before Rath Yatra came, that was like, even that was not bearable, and that was the prospect of. And for that, of course, we have to speak about Rath Yatra and describe the significance and what Rath Yatra means for us and for Mahaprabhu in particular, and how and why then therefore for Gadadhar that was like, I cannot survive a Rath Yatra without him, basically. Yeah.
Can I ask a practical question that is not related to Gadadhar, but just to your katha? Because you mentioned that it is a problem if there's some hinge of wanting moksha. And I am facing, I have to be honest, like I really want moksha. That's what I want most of anything. Yeah. And it gets like with my practice, like now I'm here after 12, like I came here 12 years ago, the first time. And this wanting moksha, it becomes more, not less. So it's quite devastating. What should I do with this? Like, yeah.
Well, of course, behind your wanting moksha, there must be some personal experience that you are going through. I don't know how much personal. I mean, it's totally personal, so I don't know how much you want that to be made public. So I don't want to be careful on that. But in general, I will say that the main idea is when we want moksha. And again, I'm not condemning that. I'm not saying like you are out of Mahaprabhu's group, you are deviating. I'm not saying anything like that. I was just making a point in a certain context that our ultimate goal sees moksha as insignificant, and so our ultimate goal. And in theory, we know that's one thing, but in practical reality, as sadhakas in the stages we may be going, as you mentioned, I will try to be honest, and I applaud that, because if we are not honest, then so sometimes our honesty may take the form of, I don't know, Maharaj, I'm going through a very harsh period in my life. I'm suffering like hell, and I my focus now is stop suffering. Although I know in theory that's not the ultimate goal of my life, in this precise moment I need to find some relief to this hell I'm going through. Huh? It can happen. And it's okay. I totally understand. It's not that I will say like, that's against our Siddhanta. You should only aspire for suffering eternally with love in the spiritual world. Now, we touch upon these topics and we are bringing them because they're true. I mean, they're not false. But again, we are giving like some general exposition of the teaching here. We are not addressing every unique personal case. That always requires a separate treatment, which does not contradict what we are saying, but just adapt to the circumstance in short, middle, long term. So again, I don't know the specific details of the situation. I don't know you, so I don't like to advise people that I don't know, basically, because I've seen that a lot, and I don't like that. Like without knowing the person, like giving very conclusive, like you should do like this and this, like that, and that's how you. And I don't know who you are, what you're going through, and that my advice may be even redoubling the trauma or something. Although I will feel like I gave her the Siddhanta. No? So, but yeah, I will clarify basically that, no, that I can understand that any of us, most of us, may be going at times through difficult situations in our practice, in our journey, and may need some form of relief, no? But it's also nice for us to work with that ourselves. Okay, why I want moksha, why I want mukti. No? Again, not like a torture, but just like being in dialogue with me. So, okay, I can understand why moksha is not the goal. Now I have to understand why moksha is the goal for me. So why? And again, not like with pressure, not like self-loathing, not bringing a whip and chastising me like I'm going against Krishna, but just trying to unpack my life situation basically, no? And see what I may need to heal, what I need to heal. Most of us may need to heal many parts of our emotional, psychological life and be more balanced and be more stable. Or maybe we may have gone through very difficult situations and that will take time, no, to close that chapter, no? And it's okay. Again, it's not wrong. But at the same time, it's good that we always keep and understand why our ultimate goal is like this, like that. And maybe short term, middle term, we need to address other issues and solve them. But we know long term, this is the goal. So how my short, middle term issues, how can I solve them? So that's taking me to the long term goal and not taking me somewhere else. So that's what I can say in general, again, without knowing details, without being too specific. I always like, again, radical personalism. So so I prefer to, if I have to address something more specifically that requires like personal conversations and getting acquainted with each other, and because it's sometimes there are very sensitive situations, and I don't like to just throw something to something very delicate, specific, no. So yeah, I want to make that clear, no. So if someone for some valid reason at this precise moment feels I want some moksha, I want to stop suffering, I want to get rid. Again, we are not condemning that. I can understand that, although it's not the goal. So we have to be able to accommodate all those things, no? Without going crazy. Going crazy. Because again, the last goal is this, but I'm not there yet personally. So if I push myself to be there tomorrow, I may become dysfunctional because it will may take some time. As long as I'm not using that as an excuse to go somewhere else, it's understandable. You follow my point? I mean, I know that I'm doing some things on a daily basis that probably, if I will be more advanced in 2 lifetimes, I may not be doing. But at the present time, I may need to do. I mean, I'm not doing anything strange, forbidden, just in case. But I don't know. Some of us idealize. Okay, when I'm getting closer to Prem, probably I won't be almost sleeping or eating, and now I'm still hungry and tired sometimes. So I'm so wrong. No, I mean, it's okay. Normalize that. Don't go crazy, or whatever is the case for each situation. As long as we are on our path with sincerity and moving forward, again, there is no rush, technically speaking. Krishna is saying the Gita, no? I mean, what you quoted yesterday, no? Like Pratyabhaya, and what was it? How does it start? Nehabhikramana. No? If you engage in this path, there is no loss nor diminution. So we are already doing bhakti, and our goal is to continue doing bhakti. So it's not that we want to go somewhere else. We want just to continue doing bhakti wherever we are. So I think for me, it helps me in terms of this idea of moksha or going somewhere else. But I can only go somewhere else if I've solved. The moksha is not an escape from what I have not solved here and now. That's the point, no? Because sometimes instinctively it's like, I want to get rid from this world. I want to leave this samsara. But the point is, why? Because I'm suffering. Because these situations make me suffering. Okay, so the answer is you have to transform your consciousness in such a way that what gives you suffering now is not giving suffering anymore. The same situation. Because if not, it's not like I'm taken somewhere else and I have not learned my lessons here. We will be carrying whatever we have not solved wherever we go. So it's, and the place to solve and heal and deal with everything is now, here and now, basically. And again, there's no rush. With this, I'm not saying become complacent, become mediocre, but also don't become neurotic. Like when someone asks you, let's see the Maharaj, if I start my practice today, in this lifetime, never practiced Bhakti before this lifetime, how much time will it take to reach the goal? No, all these calculation questions. No? And Srila Maharaj was smiling. He said, well, if you're very serious, probably 3 lifetimes or something. And the devotee was shocked. Like 3 lifetimes. He felt like, whoa, that's so much. And when Srila Siddhar Maharaj saw his shock, he was shocked. Like, it's too much 3 lifetimes to obtain such a gift and go 3 lifetimes after another lifetime you have been going. And you follow my position? And he will say, Bhakti is so nice that why do you want to go somewhere else? Susukam kartumabhyayam. Bhakti is already there. Bhakti is very beautiful. So where do you want to go? So the actual question is, if I want to go somewhere else, as most of us may want at times, the question is for us, where from what I'm trying to escape, so to say, what I have not solved, and I have to confront and I have to face, or I have to deal with. Again, not with guilt, not with shame, but in a healthy human acknowledgement. Okay, what I have to still solve. So I'm not thinking in terms of having to go somewhere else or having to leave, but being fully present, basically, and welcoming whatever comes. Gradually reaching there. Again, we may not be ready to be there now. It's not that we press a button and boom, I'm there. But we have to start here and today, here and now, to work whatever we need to work. Yeah. Anyhow, some thoughts. I hope that helps. I don't know.
Insincerity can also go on the other side. That some person said, Janmani, yes, I want birth after birth, because actually I have so many things I still want in this world. So it's also insincere. And
yeah,
just philosophically, I feel Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning, he said, after this very life, you go back.
Mm-hmm.
And many of these disciples, they came to Narayan Maharaj later. And he said, yeah, it takes 3 or a few lifetimes more. And they had the same thing, but something entered in there by Srila Prabhupada's association. Really, I want to go home. And I think this is a very legitimate mood. You expressed it once. Huh? I really, and it's actually it's not an escapism, but this is a mood. I want to be at home. I want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Prabhupada somehow put it in the heart
Mm-hmm.
of many souls. And this is in one way, it's a wonderful mood. And most of us might not be on the platform that the practice of bhakti is like so overwhelmingly, so ecstatic. We're not yet, but the mood is still there, and this is what I can appreciate very much.
Mm-hmm.
This, I want to go home,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel, it's maybe Vaidhi Bhakti, and one can say, because impetus
Mm-hmm.
is not really from the spiritual world, but I have grown appreciation for that mood.
Mm. Yeah.
I want to go home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are already home here now.
Forever.
Yeah. I will say that I totally agree with you, and I will say that an important thing is that in this life, in this world, we get closer and closer to that experience of home, basically. No? It's not like just thinking, I have to wait to leave this body to be home, but home is a state of consciousness, you could say, man. Gradually. No? The need for belonging, no? The need for feeling we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Yes, you mentioned it's a very natural need, so I want to make that clear. From whatever I say, that we say, we are not kind of condemning or saying like, you're in Maya because you wish that's bad, that's wrong, that shouldn't be there. But and therefore we should also be compassionate with ourselves in that sense also, because sometimes if not, we are still like, oh, I want moksha and that's not correct. So we need to redefine or re-understand the words we use and what we actually need, and be compassionate with ourselves in the process of getting closer and closer to our goal. We are already going home. So we should be celebrating that fact, basically. Even if in the process of that there will be a few ups and downs, back and forth. Already the warranty by Krishna is you will not, as long as we are honest and open and not attacking bhakti viciously, we are already in that direction. We should develop this confidence. That's not pride. That's humility in acknowledging the power of grace in our lives. So, anyway, thanks so much for your question and your presence. I think we stop here and we will continue in a few hours. Sri Gaura-lila Ji ki jai, Sri Radha Govinda Ji ki jai, Gaur Hari Bhakta-vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand Manchakalpataruvyascha kripa sindhubhyev chapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo Ananta Koti Vaishnava-vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Bol.